Do you agree with Ahmadinejad that it is green-lighted, it will happen in the next 3 months, or is he being made to believe that? Is there any way to avert this? When is the attack on Iran coming, and what will the aftermath be?
Well, I'm not sure when he said this, but depending on when he said it, he might be agreeing with me, because in this article that I put up Thursday of last week...
He said it yesterday in Press TV.
I speculated saying, look, I don't have any specific information, but the one thing you know about these attacks is that they tend to occur in the dark of the moon, right? The new moon, when there's no moonlight, because of the way that these stealth cruise missiles and planes, if you can see them, you can hit them, but if you can't see them, then it's very, very hard. And the timetable of the new moon for the coming 3 months, August 10th, September 8th, October 7th, this I write at the end of that piece on Iran. I found an article by Arnaud de Bourchgrave, an old adversary of mine, used to work for UPI, now works for Newsmax, and he says Obama would like to have 3 wars, and if he has 3 wars, he can have 2 houses of Congress still under his control, which seems to be suggesting an October surprise. So if you look at the October 7th date, I have no way of knowing, right? But that could be a good guess, or maybe not. I don't know. Certainly, when it happens, right? The Iranians have these missiles: the Fajr, the Shahab, the Ghadr, the Ashura, and the Sajil. These are all 2,000 kilometers. Some of them have MIRVs. They have multiple warheads.
And they've got more than 12,000 anti-ship missiles as well.
Yes, they do. And the part, however, on Israel, what I'm concerned about most is the ways that this could now go nuclear, because there are such ways. A guy writing in the Asia Times speculates that if you had Hezbollah firing, first of all, this spray of tens of thousands of Katyushkas that they have, the Russian World War II vintage, and putting among them these medium-range ballistic or short-range ballistic missiles that Hezbollah now seems to have, maybe 100 or 200. And if the Iranians were firing their conventional missiles at the same time, they might be able to overwhelm the Israeli defense system. Now, the Israelis have an ABM system, which is layered, and it's Iron Dome at the bottom, then David Sting, then Arrow, and then the U.S.-made Patriot. But again, this is subjected to a complete barrage, right? Salvos that are simultaneous.
Well, how are they going to sell preemptively attacking Iran, then Iran fires back, and they're going to decry Iran fighting back? I mean, this is insane.
Well, naturally, they'll do 2 things. If Iran strikes against Israel, they'll demonize that, of course. And if Iran strikes against U.S. bases, say in the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia or Iraq, they can demonize that.
And we know Iran does have sleeper teams everywhere.
Here's the other thing. Some time ago, and I cite this in that article that you mentioned, the scenario for U.S. encirclement in Iraq it depends on this route Tampa, right? There's a very long supply line that goes from Kuwait City to the Baghdad region. All of those other countries, everybody else, 35,000 NATO and other foreign non-U.S. troops have all left. If you had a decisive effort by the Iranians together with Muqtada Sadr of the Mahdi army to cut Route Tampa, to cut that supply line, that could become very in Afghanistan, because the supply line has to go through Pakistan where the hostility is building. You've also got the fact that the U.S. has forces in a total of 11 countries to try to encircle Iran. The 11, if you want to hear them, Iraq, Afghanistan, Turkey, Pakistan, Kuwait, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkmenistan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Kyrgyzstan. There's U.S. bases in all of those. Now, let's suppose, instead of being a factor of strength, that dispersal of forces and fragmentation of forces turns into a liability. The standard response, and I confirmed this with a U.S. Navy captain of the nuclear submarine fleet this past Sunday night. He said he had been, when he was in the service, he was in a drill where the assumption was 35,000 U.S. forces are surrounded and cut off in Iran or near Iran. What do you do? Well, the thing is you fire nuclear weapons immediately. And similarly, if you do anything with Pakistan, Pakistan has nuclear weapons. So I think we've got three ways it can go nuclear. The Israelis go nuclear.
Webster, hold on. I know you've got to go, but this is too... Webster, I know you got to go. This is too important. Do a couple more minutes with us on the other side and finish up, put a bow on what you've been talking about and how this will unfold if they do strike Iran. We're on the verge of World War III, ladies and gentlemen. Finishing up, you were getting up to the point of nuclear weapons being used, and the Bush administration 4 years ago said that's part of the CENTCOM attack profile if Iran responds. If Iran as much as fires an anti-aircraft weapon back at an aircraft, they're going to be nuked. Go ahead.
Again, I think you can see three ways. One of them is with this Iran-Hezbollah combination. So far, Hezbollah, as we saw in 2006, has had a counter-value strategy vis-a-vis Israel. In other words, they point these rather crude rockets at a city, Haifa, or some other place, and they hope it's going to hit something. So it's basically terror bombing of cities. But if you have more accurate missiles that can actually hit targets, you can go over to a counter-force strategy. You can target the air bases of the Israeli Air Force, and indeed I've seen things on the internet that the Israeli Air Force is ready to flee from northern Lebanon at the drop of a hat and take refuge in southern Israel because they now fear these 200 new missiles that the Hezbollah have been able to obtain. And if you had this simultaneous attack from Iran and from Hezbollah, if they were targeting Israeli Air Force airfields, including in the south of Israel, this could put Israel into a very critical situation, and naturally, as always, as we had it in Europe during the Cold War, if you're losing on the conventional plane and you have nuclear weapons, then you get a tremendous temptation to go nuclear, to escalate to the nuclear level, thinking that you can solve your problems there. So it could come through Israeli retaliation if they thought they were losing in a conventional way. And the lesson of Lebanon 2006 was that they did lose in a conventional way. Second was by the U.S. If the U.S. forces are encircled anywhere, Iraq, Afghanistan, or these total of 11 countries, then nuclear forces might be used. Well,
that's always been the default, going back to, two-man teams with things like Davy Crockett tacticals.
Right, and then Pakistan, right? Anything that, if you're attacking Pakistan, you have to remember that the U.S. is deterred from directly attacking Pakistan, or should be, by the fact that Pakistan has nuclear weapons. They can defend themselves. That's why you have to do all this subversion with the help of WikiLeaks and others to get the Pakistanis going. So you add this all together, there are three ways that this could go nuclear. I would also point to the fact that since I wrote this article, General Hayden, the former head of the NSA and the CIA,
he said the attack is inexorable.
He says it's inexorable, and then we have, as you point to, this very suspicious Japanese tanker explosion coming, yesterday, today.
And they're now whitewashing that, saying a wave blew out a bulkhead, so who knows the truth?
It's hard to tell, but you're now in a very, very sensitive geometry, and this could happen at any point. Now,